Hey team, hope you're all doing well. Today's topic, I wanted to go over a question that was recently asked by one of my viewers who was asking about how to negative split in a marathon, or should he do negative split type efforts during his long runs in training. And I think that always, in most cases, the better strategy when it comes to racing is to focus on being a little bit more conservative in the early stages of your races and then really pour it on in the second half of your races, especially in the marathon, because you you have more time to adjust your paces in that type of race. So you can, if you make a mistake by going out a little too fast, you can slow down and regroup. But you can't do that so much in a shorter race like the 5K or the 2 mile or the 3K, or even a 10K. 10K, you have a little bit more wiggle room. But in terms of should you negative split in a marathon, I personally think that is the better option, because if you're going to positive split, meaning if you're going to go out faster in the first half, and just make sure that you have definitely done your homework and training to be able to make that move and to run very aggressive in the first half of your race. Because if you do a positive split, the one good thing is with that is that you will have a little bit more buffer time. You've went out much faster in the first half, so if you do slow down in the second half, because you've went out so fast, you have that leeway of being able to slow down a little bit in that second half and still run a great time. Like even when I ran my PR for the marathon, I went out 107.09 for the first half, but I came back in a 112.26, so drastically slowed down, ended up running 219.35. But that being said, I don't know if I would have run a sub 220 marathon if I would have went out the first half in 112.26 and came back in a 107.09. I don't know if I would have been able to run that much faster. Maybe I would have. But I think that if you look at all of the world records on the track or on the roads, the majority of the athletes that are setting these new personal bests or these world records have set those world records by doing a negative split. So should you do a negative split in a marathon? I think that is, if you look at the top times ever run, most of the performances worldwide at the top times have usually come from athletes that have run either a negative split or they've been very consistent with their paces throughout the race. I definitely think that in terms of his question, should I be doing a negative split type intensity during my long runs in training? I think that you definitely need to experiment when it comes to preparing for marathons, especially. It took me many, many years to get that particular event right, and it turned out being my best event. I was really focused in high school and in college trying to break the 4-minute mile, but I quickly realized over the years that I just did not have that type of speed. The best I could drop was a 4:22 for the full mile, 1,609 meters. But it turned out the marathon was my best event. So find what you're good at. Make sure that if you're in high school or if you're in college right now, continue to work on your leg speed. Continue to really drill down on getting as fast as you possibly can get from the 2 mile up through the 10K event. That way, when you get to when you start focusing on the longer races, maybe the 10 mile, maybe the half marathon or marathon, you've really developed your leg speed. And even as a long distance runner, you have to always focus on working on your leg speed and trying to improve on that. I mean, the majority of us that are either middle distance runners or long distance runners, in terms of our physiology, we're probably made up of about like 98% slow twitch muscle fibers and maybe 2% fast twitch muscle fibers. Where if you look at an athlete like Usain Bolt or Michael Johnson, those particular sprinters, they were probably about 99% fast twitch and maybe 1% slow twitch. So there's just some of us that were born with the ability to run much faster over short distances, and others that are very efficient and effective at running at very long distances. So, but definitely in terms of pacing is really critical when it comes to the marathon, because you don't want to go into oxygen debt too soon in this particular type of race. It's just not a good feeling, and I've been there too. I've went out and trying to run, earlier in my career when I first started running marathons in 2002. I started running in 1992, started running marathons in 2002. I would always go out way too fast in the first few miles of the race of the first half, and paid the price in the second half. So it took a few times of really practicing this particular event before I got it right. And I was always practicing fast long runs as well as very slow long runs in training. My biggest recommendation for all of you that are trying to run faster over the marathon distance is definitely get better at hydrating and training, so that when you get to the race, you've really practiced that particular aspect of your preparation. A lot of athletes aren't drinking enough, aren't taking in enough calories in races of, say, like the 10-mile, half marathon, and marathon distance. So you really have to pay attention to that, because you can get all the other fundamentals right, but if you neglect your nutrition in the race, and if you go out too fast and you get too hyped up and you try to run somebody else's race and you don't focus on running your own race, that's where you're really going to ruin your overall finish time. Okay, so negative split is the way to go in most cases. Like I said, I ran my best marathon running a positive split. So I went out very aggressive in that first half marathon, and because I went out a lot faster, I was able to slow down a little bit in that second half, but I was also highly prepared. I knew I was going to, going into that race, I knew I had the potential to run my particular long-term goal of breaking 2 hours and 22 minutes for the marathon. It comes out to 5:25 per mile. So, I'd run a 50-54 10-mile time. A few months before that, I'd run a personal best for the half marathon in 1:07:06 in Philadelphia. So I knew going into that race that if, for whatever reason, if I would have went out a little too aggressive, which on that particular morning I did. In fact, I was 3 seconds slower through the half marathon, 1:07:09, than my personal best for the half marathon, which is 1:07:06. So, but again, I tapered down correctly. I did a 10-day taper, and I went into that race very confident in what I was doing. And when going through the half, I just felt phenomenal. So again, it comes down to a proper build-up, a proper taper, and if you've done it correctly, you're going to run a time that even you possibly don't think you're capable of currently in the marathon. But I think that in terms of his questioning, should I be doing negative split type long runs in training or positive split? Experiment with it, okay? Run faster long runs, but also make sure that you're alternating a faster long run one weekend followed the next weekend by an easy, relaxed long run, so that you can continue to adapt to these hard anaerobic workouts you're doing. I think that's very, very important. You have to be just as disciplined on the easy days as you are on the hard days. So look and focus on what the best middle distance runners are doing. I do the best I can on this channel to share as the strategies and tactics that work the best for me. And one of the biggest in terms of the marathon distance was running faster long runs. And I'm not saying you run the entire long run fast, because that's a quick way to getting stale and getting fatigued. Okay, so run a mixture of your long run at varied paces. Okay, run a few miles or a few kilometers in your long run at your anaerobic threshold, and then run very easy aerobic miles or kilometers during the long run, and then run a few of those miles or a few of those kilometers during your long run at your VO2 max. Okay, closer down toward your 3K and 5K race pace effort. Okay, mixing up the paces and not just running easy and relaxed every weekend and running steady every single weekend. Okay, but definitely in terms of should you do a negative split in the marathon or in race or in training, definitely experiment with that. If you're going into your race and you've trained properly, focus on running that second half faster than you run the first half. I think that's going to give you the highest chance of success. You'll have the lowest chances of going into oxygen debt if you don't go out too fast in the first half. Make sure also you're really paying attention to staying as relaxed as you can in the race, and practice that in training too. Okay, even if you're running easy, especially when you're running fast, monitor the amount of tension that you're feeling in your face. Is your face tightening up? Are your shoulders rising? If you feel that in your workouts, consciously tell yourself to, okay, I'm calm down, I'm relaxed, I'm confident. Say whatever you need to say, but consciously relax yourself, because again, great performances come about when we're the most relaxed and the best prepared. So I hope this video is helpful for you all in terms of how to, should you do a negative split in a marathon. I think that is very important. Focus on that rather than running too aggressive in the first half and being forced to slow down in the second half. Again, if you're highly trained and you're prepared for going out aggressive in the first half, just know that, yes, if you're going to make that move, be confident in that move and stick with it, even if you have to slow down in the last the last 10 kilometers of the marathon. Because you've went out aggressive and because you're well prepared, you'll be able to handle it. It's not going to feel good, but yes, you still can set a new personal best running a positive split. But look at what the world's top runners, when they've set the world records in the track events and in the road events, they usually have done it when they were doing a negative split. They focused on getting out fast, settling into pace during their first half of the race, but they always come on quick in that second half and really start picking up the pace and passing people in that second half. So that's my advice. Hope that answers your question. And if you have any other questions, any other comments, feel free to leave me a comment below. I'll definitely reach back out to you. Check out the resources below all my videos. They're there to help you succeed and help you to hopefully get faster, more effectively, and faster in your chosen event. And definitely check out the resources on RunDreamAchieve.com. They're there as well to help you out. And I wish you all the best, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.